Hey guys, our devotion today is from 1 Kings chapter 18, and today we get to see that great showdown between Elijah and the prophets of Baal. But before we get into that, I want to remind you today, let's be in prayer for Stella Clark. This chapter starts out and it's pretty bleak. We see that Jezebel has pretty much declared war on the followers of God, on the true followers of God. She is putting to death prophets who say things that she does not want to hear and who are encouraging people not to worship Baal because that's her God, right? She doesn't want people worshiping the one true God anymore. She wants them to be worshiping these false gods, which she believes is real, of course. And so it's a bad time to be a follower of the one true God. You see this even in the way that King Ahab addresses Elijah when he sees him. He calls him the troubler of Israel because Elijah apparently has just been saying negative things. He didn't have anything good from the Lord to say about what was going on because they were not doing what was right. Ahab wanted to hear something good. Well, Elijah didn't have anything good to say. We see it ends up with Elijah basically calling out these prophets of Baal. He sets up this competition that's going to happen and to see who the one true God is. There's a lot of good stuff that we can talk about here. I think one of the obviously important things from this chapter was where Elijah calls them out and says, if Baal's God, then serve him. If Jehovah, if the I Am, if God is the one true God, then serve him. Stop wavering between two positions. Stop being lukewarm. And I think that's an important message for us as followers of Christ to contemplate, especially as American followers of Christ. We understand it can be easy for us to be lukewarm followers of Christ. Sometimes to serve the world, sometimes serve ourselves, sometimes when we know we're in the spotlight to serve God, to be a follower of Christ. Maybe when it's easy to follow Christ, but when the stakes aren't that high, or when we don't think people will notice, to follow ourselves. And we have to ask ourselves this question: how long are we going to waver between 2 points? Are we going to follow Christ, or are we going to follow the world? I think what I really appreciate about this scripture today, though, the thing that stands out to me is this competition that they have, because it just struck me the difference in the way that they go about this sacrifice and calling this miracle into existence. We see the prophets of Baal, they build their little shrine here and they begin to call on Baal to burn up the sacrifice. But look at the way that they do it. They're screaming out, they're calling, they're crying, they're doing whatever they can to try to get his attention. They get desperate, they even begin to cut themselves so that they're bleeding terribly. And they cannot get Baal's attention, and Elijah is making fun of them. The difference in what Elijah does is that he doesn't need to put on this big show. He doesn't need to do anything really to get God's attention special. He doesn't need to help that process along of this miracle being called on. He just is at God's mercy to do a miracle, and he trusts in God. He pours water over the wood, which stands out to me. I would think that, especially, if I was worried that the miracle might not happen and I was gathering wood for this sacrifice that I wanted God to light on fire, that I'd probably in my flesh want to help it along a little bit. Maybe I'd find the driest possible wood that I could, and I don't know, maybe I'd look for some way to kind of try to create a spark here. Elijah doesn't do anything. In fact, he pours water on it to prove that it's not about him helping this along. It's not about anything that he's going to do. It's just God, because God is God, and he's the only one that could have done it. And these prophets of Baal, they're trying to control their God. They're trying to manipulate him by their actions. And Elijah is saying, I can't do that. I can't control God. I can't manipulate him. There's nothing I can do that's going to help this miracle along. It's just him and his glory and his power and his sovereignty. And of course, God shows up in that. And Elijah's letting go stepping back, letting God have the glory, God glorifies himself, and he shows himself to be the one true God. And, I don't know, I think just in that we have an opportunity today to just trust God. We don't have to help him do a miracle. We don't have to aid him along. We can just step back and let him do what only he can do. Worship him and give him the glory today. All right. God bless you guys.